Welcome to the Pencil Bob channel. I hope you enjoy my stories. Please like and subscribe, and hit that notification icon so you never miss out. Now on with the stories.
I never thought I'd find myself in such a mess with my HOA. It all started when I moved to a new place, excited about the fresh start and the beautiful condo I'd just purchased. What seemed like a simple change of address quickly turned into a nightmare that kept me awake at night, making me question every decision I'd ever made. At first, everything seemed perfect. I'd set up autopay for my HOA dues, feeling responsible and organized. I patted myself on the back, thinking I had it all figured out. But then, life threw me a curveball. I changed my address, and suddenly, those payments I thought were sailing smoothly through the system were bouncing back like rubber balls. 1 month went by, then 2, then 3. Before I knew it, 5 whole months had passed, and I was blissfully unaware of the storm brewing. It wasn't until I received that first letter that my world came crashing down. A lien on my condo? I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. How could this happen to me? I'm a responsible adult. I pay my bills on time. I follow the rules. Yet here I was, facing a situation that made me feel like a complete failure. The collection agency's letter in October was like a slap in the face. $500 in attorney fees? My head was spinning. I couldn't believe this was happening to me. With shaking hands, I penned a response, explaining the situation, proposing a repayment plan, and practically begging them to remove the fees. I thought surely they'd understand. It was an honest mistake, after all. I wasn't some deadbeat trying to avoid my responsibilities. But November rolled around, and with it came another letter, this one even more demanding than the last. They wanted full payment, no exceptions. And to add insult to injury, they terminated my online portal access. I felt like I was being punished, cut off from the very system I needed to fix this mess. Determined to make things right, I fixed the autopay issue. But it seemed like every step forward I took, they pushed me 2 steps back. More attorney fees, more late charges. It was like a never-ending cycle of financial punishment. I was at my wit's end, but I knew I had to do something. So, on November 16th, I bit the bullet and sent a check to pay in full. It hurt. Oh boy, did it hurt. But I thought, this is it. This nightmare is finally over. How wrong I was. I reached out to the property group, feeling a glimmer of hope. I explained about the double payment, thinking they'd see reason and sort it out. But no, they applied it to attorney costs without so much as a blink. It was like they didn't even hear me when I mentioned the extra November dues payment. I felt invisible, unheard, and frankly, pretty darn angry. They did unlock my portal, which I thought was a small victory. But then they had the nerve to claim I controlled portal access all along. I wanted to scream. If I had control, why would I lock myself out? It was maddening, absolutely maddening. Just when I thought things couldn't get any more confusing, December 8th rolled around. An email popped into my inbox, and my heart sank. A new balance due? How was that even possible? I'd paid in full. As I read through the email, my confusion turned to frustration, then to outright anger. They said my attorney check was paid on November 28th, 1 day past the due date. One measly day, and they slapped me with an additional $1,000 in attorney fees. I felt like I was being bled dry, nickel and dimed at every turn. And the due date they listed? December 5th. But wait, wasn't this email sent on December 8th? The dates weren't adding up, and I started to wonder if I was losing my mind. As I pored over the details, something else caught my eye. The interest charges mentioned in the attorney's breakdown were nowhere to be found in the property group's balance. It was like playing a twisted game of spot the difference, except the stakes were my financial well-being and my sanity. I sat there, staring at my computer screen, feeling completely lost. How had it come to this? I'd tried so hard to make things right, to pay what I owed, to fix the mistakes. But it felt like I was trapped in a maze with no exit, every turn leading me back to where I started or worse, deeper into the labyrinth of fees and charges. The stress was taking its toll. I found myself snapping at friends and family, my patience worn thin by the constant worry. My sleep suffered. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, my mind racing with calculations and worst-case scenarios. Even my work was affected. I'd catch myself zoning out during meetings, my thoughts drifting to the latest HOA drama. I started to question everything. Was I being targeted? Was there something personal going on here? Or was this just a case of bureaucratic incompetence spiraling out of control? I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being treated unfairly, but I also couldn't prove it. The financial strain was real. Those extra fees and charges were eating into my savings, money I'd set aside for home improvements or a much-needed vacation. Now, it was all going to lawyers and late fees. I found myself scrutinizing every purchase, feeling guilty for buying a coffee or treating myself to a movie night. The HOA troubles had seeped into every aspect of my life, casting a shadow over what should have been a happy time in my new home. I tried talking to my neighbors, hoping to find some solidarity or at least some insight into how the HOA typically operated. But most of them seemed to shy away from the topic, as if discussing HOA issues was taboo. A few shared their own horror stories, which, while making me feel less alone, did little to actually solve my problem. As the days went by, my frustration grew. I felt like I was shouting into a void, my pleas for understanding and fairness falling on deaf ears. The property group seemed to operate in their own reality, one where dates could shift at will and payments could vanish into thin air. I found myself drafting emails, only to delete them in frustration, knowing that my words would likely be twisted or ignored. I started researching HOA laws, diving deep into forums and legal websites. The more I read, the more confused I became. It seemed like for every law protecting homeowners, there was a loophole that HOAs could exploit. I considered seeking legal advice, but the thought of more attorney fees made my stomach churn. The condo that I had once been so excited about now felt like a prison. Every time I walked through the door, I was reminded of the ongoing battle. The beautiful view from my balcony was tainted by thoughts of liens and late fees. Even the community amenities I'd once looked forward to using now felt off limits, as if I didn't deserve to enjoy them until this mess was sorted out. I found myself daydreaming about selling the place and moving somewhere without an HOA. But then reality would set in. Who would want to buy a condo with a lien on it? And even if I could sell, would I be able to recoup my losses? The thought of starting over somewhere else was both tempting and terrifying. As weeks turned into months, my emotions ran the gamut from anger to despair to determination. Some days, I felt ready to take on the world, to fight this injustice with everything I had. Other days, I wanted to curl up in a ball and pretend none of this was happening. The constant roller coaster was exhausting. I started keeping meticulous records of every interaction, every payment, every email. My dining room table became command central, covered in papers, sticky notes, and a calendar marked with important dates. I felt like a detective trying to solve a complex case, except the case was my own financial nightmare. The stress began to manifest physically. I developed headaches, my shoulders were constantly tense, and I found myself grinding my teeth at night. Friends commented that I looked tired, and I had to force a smile and brush off their concerns. How could I explain that my life had been taken over by HOA drama? I tried to find moments of peace amidst the chaos. I'd take long walks around the neighborhood, trying to remind myself why I had fallen in love with this place to begin with. The beautiful landscaping, the friendly faces of my neighbors, the sense of community. It was all still there, hidden beneath the layers of stress and worry. As I walked, I'd rehearse conversations in my head, imagining myself calmly and confidently explaining my situation to the HOA board. In these imaginary scenarios, they'd always see reason, apologize for the misunderstanding, and wipe away all the extra fees. But reality was far less accommodating. I started to feel like I was living two lives, one where I tried to go about my daily routine as if everything was normal, and another where I was constantly strategizing, worrying, and fighting this seemingly endless battle. It was exhausting, and I longed for the day when I could just enjoy my home without this dark cloud hanging over me. The unresolved interest fees with the lawyers loomed large in my mind. It felt like a ticking time bomb, ready to explode and bring a whole new wave of financial stress. I couldn't shake the feeling that no matter how much I paid, there would always be some new charge, some new fee waiting around the corner. As I sat at my desk, staring at the latest email from the property group, I felt a mix of emotions. Frustration, yes, but also a steely determination. I'd come too far to give up now. I'd paid my dues, literally and figuratively, and I deserved to have this resolved fairly. I took a deep breath, cracked my knuckles, and began to type out yet another email. This time, I was going to lay out everything, every payment, every discrepancy, every unanswered question. I was going to demand a full accounting of my account, and I wasn't going to back down until I got it. As I wrote, I felt a spark of hope. Maybe this time they'd listen. Maybe this time I'd finally get through to someone who could make this right. It was a small hope, but it was enough to keep me going. I hit send and leaned back in my chair, feeling a mix of exhaustion and relief. Whatever happened next, I knew I'd done everything in my power to resolve this situation. The ball was in their court now. As I closed my laptop, I glanced out the window at the setting sun. Despite everything, it was a beautiful view. I reminded myself that this, too, shall pass. One day, this would all be a distant memory, a story to tell at dinner parties about the great HOA battle of 2024. For now, though, all I could do was wait, hope, and stay strong. This fight wasn't over, but I was ready for whatever came next. After all, this was my home, and it was worth fighting for. I can't believe I wasted my time reading this sob story. The writer is clearly trying to manipulate everyone into feeling sorry for them, but I'm not buying it. They conveniently leave out important details that would probably show they're at fault. And all this dramatic language about nightmares and feeling like a failure. Please, it's just some late fees, not the end of the world. If they spent half as much time actually dealing with the problem as they did writing this long-winded complaint, they'd probably have it sorted by now. Instead, they're here looking for validation from strangers on the internet. Grow up and handle your business like an adult. Stop expecting everyone else to fix your problems or bend the rules just because you messed up. This whole story reeks of entitlement and irresponsibility. Okay, so I read this whole thing and I'm like super mad now. These HOA people are total jerks. Like, who do they think they are? This guy made a mistake with his address and they're acting like he committed a crime or something. And then they keep adding all these fees and stuff. It's crazy. I don't get why they need to charge so much for lawyers anyway. Can't they just fix the problem without making it such a big deal? And then they take the extra money he paid and use it for more lawyer fees instead of fixing the problem. That's so messed up. And then they keep changing the due dates and stuff. It's like they're trying to trick him on purpose. How is anyone supposed to keep track of all that? It's not fair at all. I think these HOA people are just power hungry and want to boss everyone around. They probably get a kick out of making people's lives miserable. Someone should start a petition or something to get rid of HOAs altogether. They don't do anything good anyway. Just cause problems for normal people trying to live their lives. If I ever buy a house, I'm going to make sure it's nowhere near an HOA. This story is scary and makes me never want to deal with those people ever. Oh my God, this person is so annoying. Like, do they think we're stupid or something? They keep going on and on about how unfair everything is, but it's pretty obvious they're leaving stuff out. First of all, who forgets to pay their HOA dues for 5 whole months? That's just dumb. And then they act all surprised when there's consequences. Hello. That's how the real world works. And then they try to make it sound all dramatic with all this stuff about nightmares and feeling like a failure. It's just money. Get over it. Stop being such a baby about everything. I bet they're the kind of person who always has excuses for everything and never takes responsibility for anything. Like, grow up already. The world doesn't revolve around you and your problems. And why are they even writing this whole long thing anyway? Are they expecting someone to come rescue them or something? Newsflash! Nobody cares about your HOA drama. Honestly, people like this are the worst. They make everything into such a big deal and expect everyone else to feel sorry for them. Well, I don't feel sorry for them at all. They need to stop whining and just deal with their problems like a normal person.
I would like to thank you for watching the video to the end. To encourage us to make more videos, please like, subscribe, comment, as well as share. Check out this other video if you haven't already.